I'd like to take a few moments to reflect and celebrate the life of Sir Christopher Zeeman in this, the 100th year of his birth, and also the 50th anniversary of his election as a Fellow of the Royal Society. So not having met Christopher Zeeman, I wanted to find out a bit more about him. So I could have gone on to ChatGPT, but I didn't. I spoke to a few people, and also I've drawn some stories from an excellent article written by David Rand, whom I'm sure many of you know. And I would encourage you to read that if you don't know more about Christopher already. So I'd like to just highlight some points which caught my attention in that article and in the conversations that I've had. And in that, I hope to capture some of the essence of Christopher. So, in summary, Christopher was a brilliant mathematician, exceptional lecturer, prodigious polymath and deep-thinking leader and administrator. Christopher Zeeman had a remarkable influence on British mathematics, including his contributions to the public understanding of science. This is what David Rand writes. Starting with his early years, his mother gave him one of his first exciting insights into mathematical abstraction when he was 7 years old. He says, "I was baffled by a problem I'd read in a children's newspaper, and she showed me how to use X for the unknown. I was astounded and remember it vividly to this day." Later on in his 20s, in his journal from his RAF days, his characteristic zest for life became apparent. He wrote, "There's nothing to beat doing aerobatics in a wee tiger moth for sheer thrill and fun." His family recount a story in which he decided to challenge the prevailing wisdom that it was not possible to loop the loop in a bomber. Trusting his life to his mathematics, he calculated the maximum strain the wings would take, marked on the cockpit window the corresponding danger line, beyond which the wings should not be allowed to bend. He took off, tried the loop, and he discovered the prevailing wisdom was right. In the early 1950s, he studied for his doctorate under Sean Wiley. He said, "I became used to finding problems, both hard and soft, and that I was subsequently able to give to my own students. So this prompted me to think, I wonder who his students were." And I contacted Charlotte Watts, is that right? I've got her email here. Forgive me, I'm going between sources. Yes, Charlotte Watts, who is the former Chief Scientific Advisor for the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. And she says, "Christopher Zeeman was a brilliant mathematician, but so much more. A polymath who opened up and helped move forward new fields such as catastrophe and chaos theory, and the application of maths to better understand and address real-world problems. These include on the workings of the brain and how catastrophe theory could be used to inform strategies for diplomatic negotiation or tackling anorexia. One concrete memory was from my initial PhD meeting, where he explained that he thought some of the great unproven theories needed to be tackled by people who had not worked in the field, and so would bring a new perspective. In this light, he gave me Fermat's last theorem to solve." Needless to say, I didn't get anywhere on this, and we quickly moved on to more tangible work. It took me 2 years to understand the angle to addressing the problem, and once I did, it was relatively simple to prove. Christopher went on to be the foundation. He was offered the foundation professorship of mathematics at the new University of Warwick. And apparently after an agonising month of indecision, he turned it down. Of that decision, he said, That night, I tossed and turned and I didn't get a wink of sleep all night. Next morning, I said to Rosemary, "I think I've made the wrong decision," and gloomily cycled off to work. In the evening, I wrote the opposite letter, accepting, and the VC very kindly agreed to tear up the first one. That night, I slept like a babe, from which I deduced I must have made the right decision, although it was probably just because I was exhausted. In retrospect, I realised that accepting the chair at Warwick was one of the best decisions I've ever made. David Haran goes on to say, in telling this, he naughtily forgot the role of his wife, Rosemary. The moment he left the house that morning, she was on the phone to the Vice-Chancellor. Yes, he had received Zeeman's letter with great disappointment and heartily welcomed her suggestion that he throw it in the bin and wait another 24 hours. She then got on the phone telling Zeeman what to do. As I've already mentioned, one area of his work was in elementary catastrophe theory, and he created a device to try and explain this to students called the Zeeman catastrophe machine. According to Ian Stewart, who was also at Warwick, when Zeeman took it with him to give lectures in the USA, he told immigration officials the name of the device, and they cleared the room and had him arrested. So Christopher Zeeman was a highly charismatic character. He was a brilliant lecturer, meticulously prepared for his lectures and brilliantly delivered them. In a conversation with Alison Etheridge this afternoon, she recounted that she only ever went to one lecture by Christopher, but she says she remembers it to this day so clearly because of the way he delivered it. He was a pioneer in the area of public engagement with mathematics, and in 1978 gave the televised series of the Christmas lectures at the Royal Institution. Of this, he said, Faraday invented the lectures in 1825, so here we are 200 years on from that, because kids in his day weren't taught science at school. They'd been given every year since, but maths was always thought too difficult. In my lectures, I proved 20 theorems rigorously. The BBC tried to stop me giving proofs, but I insisted. The article from David Haran goes on to describe his joy and his pride in his family. And we're so pleased to welcome Nikki here this evening. It's lovely to see you. Now, in 2007, the London Mathematical Society and the Institute of Maths and its Applications named a medal to honour mathematicians who have excelled in promoting mathematics and engaging with the general public. Named it the Christopher Zeeman Medal for Communication of Mathematics. And here we are 18 years later. So now we come on to the bit that you've all been waiting for, right? And I'd like to read some of the citation for Brady from Simon Singh. Thank you very much for submitting it. So the following citation describes Brady's exceptional work in communication of mathematics. Brady is the creator of the phenomenally successful Numberphile. Numberphile is a YouTube channel featuring short videos which showcase varying levels of mathematics to a worldwide audience. Most feature mathematicians being interviewed by Brady, from Fields Medal winners to postgraduate students. Since 2011, the videos have been watched nearly 700 million times and inspired many young viewers to pursue a career in mathematics and cause many older viewers to wish they had. They're among the most viewed mathematics content in the world. While the videos are aimed at a lay audience, they've also become a resource for many teachers in schools and universities. Brady also produces the Numberphile podcast, extended interviews with mathematicians about their careers. Brady is the creator of other extremely popular educational channels, Computerphile, which has a strong mathematical element, covers computer science. Other channels cover the topics of chemistry and physics, He also hosts the Objectivity video series discussing objects and documents from the archives at the Royal Society and other libraries. Some of the items relate to mathematicians, from Isaac Newton to the amateur mathematician William Shanks. Combined, his videos have been watched over 1.3 billion times. I just can't think of that. That number is incredible. Some of the most watched educational videos on the web. All the videos are primarily motivated by a desire to share the wonder of the subjects, but also the humanity and the personality of the people who work in these fields. The videos have helped encourage many mathematicians to increase their efforts with respect to communicating the joy of mathematics. Having made a video with Brady, mathematicians develop skills and see the impact of their efforts. Crucially, number file videos do not avoid getting stuck into the mathematical detail whilst also being interesting and engaging. And this point, I think Christopher Zeeman would be really, really proud of. Different videos appeal to different audiences, from primary school children to graduate students. The channel also presents a diversity of the mathematical community, providing role models for the next generation, which is so, so important. So, Brady, congratulations on this award, very well deserved. I'll now hand over to you to tell us about Treasure Trove, amazing objects from the world of mathematics. Thank you.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. You should introduce me all the time. Anytime I walk into a room, I want you to go in first. That was really nice. So, I want to do a little thank you bit at the start, because it's not often I get a chance to stand up in front of a room of people and say a few thank yous. So if I can really, really quickly do that, and then we'll get to the good stuff. Can I thank the Institute of Mathematics and its applications and the London Mathematical Society for tonight, for the medal and the opportunity to speak to this audience. Yeah, it's a great thing you're doing to be presenting this award and encourage people like me and other people, really energise us and give us new confidence in what we're doing. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank a few organisations and people who support Numberphile and my other channels. I'll do it very quickly. Jane Street, MSRI in Berkeley, Simons Foundation, Bendello, University of Nottingham, the Royal Society. I can't do what I do without these people and these organisations. Thank you very much. Even more important than them, can I thank my wife, Kylie, who is here tonight. She's an incredible wife, a great mother to our little boy, incredible successful career of your own as a broadcaster and a journalist, which I'm very proud of. Woman's Hour tomorrow if you want to catch her in action. But also in the context of tonight, a really important contributor to my work. She works in the media, she has good ideas, feedback. She has helped make my channels what they've become. Thank you for being here. Pete McPartlin is an animator, editor. Where are you, Pete? Where are you? You're at the very back. I'm going to insist that you stand up so I can embarrass you for a second. Pete, I met Pete purely by coincidence crossing a street in Nottingham. For many, many years now, he's become such an important part of Numberphile, and this award is very much because of you as well, Pete. And I'm going to give you an applause if no one else does. Buy that man one of these free drinks afterwards, because he's deserved it. And finally, I want to thank the stars of Numberphile. They're the ones who make it possible. The mathematicians and the math communicators who are in the videos. I think there's 176 of them, so I'm not going to name them all, of course. So I've just given them all little stars there. I will name one by name tonight, just because I want to, and that's James Grime, who is right there. James, give us a hand. You are shy. You're really shy. James has been with us he's been with me since before the first Numberphile video. I couldn't have started this without him and his backing. And he's still everyone's favourite presenter on Numberphile. And he's one of the country's best math communicators. Thanks to all the other people in the room who are in Numberphile as well. You're really cool too. All right, let's move on. That's James, by the way. Doing the first ever video on number 5. We were a bit more low-key with the graphics back then. That was before Pete started helping me. All right, let's do the talky bit. I'm not going to give a mathematics talk. I am not qualified to give a mathematics talk to a room of this calibre. So I'm going to give a talk about something else I'm not qualified to give a talk about. One of the channels that I'm involved with that was mentioned is called Objectivity. These are videos about objects, physical items, papers, things in archives with a sciencey mathematical bent. Most of them are filmed here at the Royal Society. So I'm going to sort of do that. I'm going to show you a bunch of objects tonight from the collection here at the Royal Society. I'm very excited about this. They are way more exciting than they look at the moment. I hope you're going to realise how amazing it is to be in the same room as these objects as we talk about them. It's really special that we've been able to do this. Objectivity, by the way, here's a picture I just want to show you. This is Keith Moore, head librarian here at the Royal Society. That's him there. He's talking to Matt Parker, former Zeeman medalist, and filming is James Hennessy, who's also incredibly important. If you ever wonder why Objectivity videos look way better than all my other videos, it's because they're filmed and edited by James. Where are you, James? There's James Hennessy. Thank you. Another man who should get one of those free drinks afterwards if you see him. Let's start looking at these items, because I'm excited and I want you to be as excited as I am. And we're going to start with the jewel in the crown. This is the Royal Society Charter Book. And we are in the same room as it, which is kind of special. It's a big deal. I have a running joke with Keith that he hates. I always ask him, if the building was on fire, what would you save? What would you save? What would you save? And you would save me. Keith, actually, his answer he always says is, I would save the people, because that's what he's supposed to say. And it's a very good answer, and it's the correct answer, but I don't think it understands the spirit of the question. And if I was going to save anything, and all the people were safe, I would save that. That is the world's greatest autograph book. That is signed by pretty much all the people who've ever become a fellow of the Royal Society over hundreds of years. Some of the names in there will blow your mind. Let me quickly tell you what's in it. The first chunk of the charter book is kind of like the terms and conditions and like the fine print of the Royal Society. It's a bit boring, really. I think it's a bit boring. But then we get all the signatures, all the autographs. And in between those pages with all the signatures, we have these things called royal pages, because every time there's a new monarch, they become the patron of the Royal Society. So they have to have a new special posh page. The first royal page wasn't that posh. That's it there, Charles II, 1663, signing his name, founder. They get a bit more fancy after that. Here's Queen Elizabeth II's page. That's her signature at the top, patron. She didn't sign it twice. That's the Queen Mother's signature, which is almost identical to her daughter's, which I find amazing. And that's Charles, now the King. He will have his own page. It's been all done up and ready, but he hasn't signed it as yet. Keith's working on that. We'll get there. Here are some more. Here's Queen Victoria. Here's Edward VII. I particularly like this one because it has kangaroos and emus. And I'm Australian, in case you don't know. All right. Here's the first page of signatures, autographs. It's pretty old, it's pretty scruffy and dirty, but it's pretty amazing. There's some pretty amazing names on it. Here's what the pages look like now. That's a pretty normal page when the fellows each year, the new intake of fellows come and put their signatures there. Let's have a look at this one. Robert Hooke, big famous name. He's on the first page. Got these weird colons after his first name and his other name. I don't really understand what that is. He signed it down the bottom. I'm not a massive fan of the location, not a massive fan of the signature. 5 out of 10. Let's move on. One of my favourite scientists, Ernest Rutherford. Despite the fact he's a New Zealander, I think he's pretty great. Nobel Prize winner, fellow and president of the Royal Society. That's a 7 out of 10. That's a strong, strong signature. Stephen Hawking needs no introduction. He signed the Charter Book in 1974 at the age of 32. It's an amazing special signature to have for obvious reasons, and for that reason I'm going to go 8 out of 10. By the way, the next hour is just me giving marks to signatures. I hope you're all okay with that. I spend a long time doing this. All right, Let's move on. One of the most requested signatures in the charter book. So requested that if I say to any archivist, like Rupert, what page number will I find Charles Darwin on? There you go. They know exactly where they're going to find it. They know where all the good ones are. You can ask them later on. They might even show you some. Charles Darwin. Look at that. Bold, thick, dark, legible. 8 out of 10. Professor Sir Martin Polyakov, who is here tonight. Great man. One of my dearest friends, an incredible collaborator. We've had so many great times together and made so many videos together. I've seen his signature many times. Not your best one. I feel like we're friends enough that I can say that. I don't think that was your best signature. 6 out of 10. I'm sorry. I've got to call it as I see it. Now, it's easy for me to sit here and throw stones, isn't it? You know, look at that signature. That's not very good. But can you imagine the pressure of signing this incredible book on this special day? Your name's going to be going down in history with all these other people. I can imagine it because Keith gave me I didn't sign the charter book, and I never will, but Keith gave me a little treat, a little practice on a piece of practice vellum. This is the practice vellum that fellows use before they sign the book for real so they can get the feel for it. Get ready for it. There you can see I'm writing my name in capitals, but I thought I'd better do a proper signature. Hang on, I'm going to take a drink at this point. But get ready for this. You ready to see my effort, my signature? What it would look like if I signed the charter book? Do you want to see it? Of course you want to see it. I feel like you're not going to give me that medal now. That is terrible. That's a 1 out of 10. I said to Keith, can I have another go? I can do better than that. He said, all right, you can have another go. Do you want to see my second go? Of course you want to see my second go. I need another drink. This is vodka. Here's my second go. I'm so blotty. I do this Nike swoosh thing under my signature that I've done for years, and I think that always brings me unstuck when I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, that's terrible. I apologise. Let's have a look at some more real signatures in the charter book, though. I'm not the only one who has problems. Oh, no. Oh, dear me, a big moment. Look at that blot. Look at you, that one blotted and then dropped another blot and almost dropped the blot on John Conway, John Horton. Imagine that. Really famous mathematician that would have been. That was nearly a disaster. The charter book is so full of human story and humanness. That's one of the things I like about it. Even people getting expelled. Look, you're out. Expelled by the vice president. All sorts of reasons for this. It can be controversial, scandalous. It could be just financial reasons. It can be all sorts of things. Gone. You're out. Expelled. You're really gone. Look at that. The first 2 women to sign the charter book were Kathleen Lonsdale, the crystallographer, and Marjorie Stevenson, chemist. The first female fellows, of course, Queen Victoria had signed it, but these were the first scientists. 1945, that's when they started admitting women as fellows. That's an 8 and a 7. And Kathleen Lonsdale got in the book must have been minutes before Marjorie Stevenson. But here's the one everyone wants to see. Isaac Newton. There's a small little one there. Let's zoom in on it. And I love this one. I think this is a bit of a flex, isn't it? He's just gone the IS. He's kept it small. This might be a big deal for all you guys, but I'm Isaac Newton, And I think it's got a certain something to it that it's that. So I'm giving it an 8. Maybe I'm getting carried away because it's Isaac Newton. But the thing I want to point out is see how this is a bit sort of yellowy and smudgy down here. Let's zoom out a little bit more and enhance, like they say in the movies. This is James Hoare Jr. He wasn't actually a scientist, but he was admitted as a fellow because back then it was a bit more loosey-goosey and people were getting for different reasons. And he was an important person. He had an important job at the Mint and he was a goldsmith. But he signed the book after Sir Isaac Newton. And everyone who looks at Isaac Newton in the charter book wants to go, oh, look, there's Isaac Newton with their finger. And over time, he's gradually just being erased out of history, smeared and rubbed away. Give it a few more 100 years, gone. Let's talk a little bit more about Isaac Newton because he's kind of a big deal. This is the Principia. This is maybe the most famous book in history. Bible scholars would argue with me, perhaps. Really big deal. We're looking at laws of motion, gravity, the early stages of calculus. And down below us, many floors below us in the vaults, there is this shelf covered or filled with early editions of the Principia, including first editions. And first editions of Principia, if they come up for auction, which they do very rarely, you're looking at millions of pounds. We have a first edition here, and this isn't just any first edition. This was actually a first edition that belonged to this man here, Flamsteed, John Flamsteed, the first astronomer royal, another really, really big deal in science, a contemporary of Newton. So to have a first edition that belonged to him and was signed by him, what an amazing thing that is. Like, does it get more amazing than that? There's Flamsteed's signature. I haven't given that one a mark. It is in the charter book. But now we have something even more amazing than that. This is the 0 edition, because this is the manuscript for Principia. This is the handwritten version that was used by the printers to typeset the first edition. It was written, most of the handwriting in it is Humphrey Newton, no relation to Isaac Newton, but worked for him. But there is Isaac Newton's writing in it as well. Pages and pages of the final draft, and I love how dirty and human this is. Look at this, they're doing working out in the margins. Like, this is the most famous book in history, and they're going, oh, quick, let's figure this out. They're crossing things out, they're moving things around. Isaac Newton, they're putting the final tweaks on this masterpiece that changed the world forever. And look at this, we've got inky thumbprints, probably the typesetters who are putting it together, turning the pages of the manuscript with the inky bits of metal and putting it all together. What's he written here? You can see history, you can literally see history in the making here. What an amazing thing to have here and for us to be in the same room as and get to have a look at. And there's a bit more. It was written in Latin. Isaac Newton, speaking of Isaac Newton, another thing we have here. What's in the box, Keith? This is Isaac Newton, a cast of Isaac Newton's death mask. When he died, they made a cast of his face. That was one of the things they did back then. So there are lots of paintings of him, of course, but here you can really look in the face of Isaac Newton, which I think is a really amazing thing. All of these objects later on you'll be able to look at in glass case and hear that. The idea is for you to have a closer look at these, but this is an amazing thing. I think it looks like someone famous. I'm not going to say who it is. You can talk amongst yourselves later on and see if you agree with me. He does look like Paul Nurse, but I'm thinking of someone else. Paul Nurse is a former president of the Royal Society and Nobel Prize winner. I have a small association to this object that I'm going to claim, like it's quite a few degrees of separation, but this is Keith and myself looking at the death mask in its former box. This is Adam Savage, you probably recognise. He's like a famous guy on TV, an American guy who did Mythbusters and he likes making stuff. Really interesting, fun guy. He came and had a look at the death mask. He was blown away by it. Not so blown away by the box, just a cardboard box with death mask written on it. It was a bit of a stopgap that never stopped. Keith's a little bit sensitive about it because I think he may have had a hand in this.
It's a finely constructed box.
Yeah, okay, it's a finely constructed box, but maybe not befitting of the thing inside. So here's a candid moment that James caught on camera actually, where I was discussing with Adam, saying maybe you could make a new box for it. What do you think? Like getting in his ear, we've got to get rid of this cardboard box. So Adam went away, and some months later he came back. He went to his workshop in San Francisco. He came back with this metal box you see now, archival box. It's sturdy, it's cool. It's got Isaac Newton's signature engraved into it. It's the new Isaac Newton death mask box. Rest in peace, the old one. Here is the handover. Keith looks a little sad, doesn't he? Like he's looking like, I liked the cardboard box. But there you go. That's the new box.
The old box is preserved in the archives.
It is, will forever. Keith's going to go down later on and swap them back. But for now, we've got that. You can have a closer look afterwards in the big glass case in the marble hall. Shall we look at some gold shiny things? Because I love gold shiny things. Here we have Christopher Wren's dividers. Dividers are like a compass used for measuring. This is a really big set of dividers. Christopher Wren, the architect, of course, most famous for St. Paul's Cathedral. Big deal, signed the first page of the charter book. Here he's holding dividers, but those are smaller dividers. They're not these flash gold ones that we have in the room with us now. They were given to the Society by Sir John Wolfe Barry, who was an engineer. And the question is, are these legit? We don't really know. It's a long time after Christopher Wren has passed. We don't know where they came from, their provenance. They've got his name on it, but what does that mean? In Victorian times, it was a little bit common to kind of claim things were more famous than they really were. So we don't know for sure whether Christopher Wren used them. What we do know for sure is that he signed the charter book and Brady gave him a 6 out of 10. A little bit of a blot. Not a big fan of that one. We also know that John Wolfe Barry signed the charter book, 7 out of 10. I thought it was a decent one. And he was also the engineer that built that Tower Bridge. So, and this is another thing I love about all this stuff at the Royal Society. You go down all these tangents and rabbit holes and you think this is just some guy who donated it to the Royal Society, just some guy who built Tower Bridge. Here's another gold shiny thing. This was sent to the Royal Society by Charles Hudson, who was just a government worker in India many years ago. And he was obsessed with squaring the circle. Squaring the circle is a famous problem. A lot of you might know it. It involves making a square and a circle of the same area using ancient construction techniques. It's been proven to be impossible. You can't do it. Charles Hudson thought he could. He sent all these letters to the Royal Society. He was never getting any replies. So he sent this. This was kind of a physical example of how he thought it could be done. I don't fully understand what it means. It will be in the glass case. You have a look and see what you think. But don't look at it for too long because it's impossible. So it is a fool's errand. But there you go. There's Charles Hudson's attempt. I want to leave the Royal Society for just a moment, if I can, Keith, and take you into the Haran archive in my house. I collect items and they sit on shelves in my office. I see you rolling your eyes there, Carly. Anyway, these are some of the things. And I'm going to talk to you about two. Here's a video being recorded in my office with James Grime. James, apologies for the unflattering screen grab. It won't happen again. But behind him, you can see a Rubik's Cube. And the Rubik's Cube is not solved. And the Rubik's Cube is an iconic mathematical object, so I love having it in my office. But I like having it unsolved. I think Rubik's Cubes are kind of prettier when they're not solved. I love the speckled look. It has nothing to do with the fact I can't solve a Rubik's Cube. So I have that sitting on my shelf, and it drives the people who watch Number File crazy. In the comments, solve that cube, I can't stand to look at it. I had no idea how triggering it would be for them. And I love that. So I've really been leaning into it and refusing to solve it. And I've taken it further, and now sometimes when we're filming, I'll put the camera down and go and shuffle it some more and put it back so that people watching will go, has it and they become even more frustrated. You see here, sorry about the unflattering screen grab, James. It won't happen again. But I've changed that. Let's have a closer look. Look at that. Driving people crazy. And I felt pretty self-righteous about it. I thought I was right that a Rubik's Cube looks better scrambled and speckled until this recent day when I met none other than Erno Rubik himself. And I took that cube from my shelf along because I wanted him to sign it for me. So I handed it to him and said, Mr. Rubik, will you sign my cube? And he looked at it and he said, no, it's not solved. And he doesn't like to sign a face of a Rubik's Cube if it's not solved. This was a problem for me because, as I said, I can't solve a Rubik's Cube. But luckily, we were surrounded by nerds who could. So I handed it over to a young fellow and I said, quickly, can you solve a face of this cube so that I can get it signed? And suddenly he has to solve a Rubik's Cube in front of Erno Rubik. And I think his brain just froze and he was shaking and he was doing this and this. And eventually he got a face solved and I got my Rubik's Cube solved. And I now have to acknowledge that a Rubik's Cube, proper home state, is solved. If you see it in the videos anymore, you'll see one face is solved, so that I could get it signed. That's a 9 out of 10, having Erno Rubik on a Rubik's Cube. Allow me to show you one more item from my shelf. Oh, James, I'm sorry about the unflattering screen grab. It won't happen again. Near the Rubik's Cube there is a bottle. You might not be able to see it. You probably still can't see it very well. So here it is, and here it is. It's an empty bottle of Jack Daniels. I'll keep this away from you, Alex. I'll put it over here. Here we go. So, what's the big deal with this? Let's look closer down here. It's a special, one-of-a-kind, customised bottle of Jack Daniels for element 117, Tennessee, which was named after Tennessee. Jack Daniels, Oak Ridge Laboratory was involved in the creation of Tennessee. Hence, they had this one-off bottle made. Let me tell you its story. There were 4 elements on the periodic table, the last 4 elements that have been named, 115, 16, 17, and 18, and there was a big ceremony, an inauguration that was held in Moscow. And Professor Polyakov and myself were invited because we were the periodic videos chemistry YouTube guys. And here's Martin giving a speech on the night. And we were treated like VIPs. It was great. We felt really special. It was a really great event. We even got invited to the after party where all like the top scientists went and hung out and talked about chemistry and elements. And here at the after party is the bloke from Tennessee giving this specially made bottle to Yuri Oganessian. Yuri Oganessian is a Russian scientist. He's the only person alive who has an element named after him, 118, Oganesson. So this was a big deal, getting given to this big moment. There he is holding it aloft. This is like science coolness. And I said we were treated like VIPs. Martin was treated like a VIP. I think I was treated a bit more like the guy that follows him around with the camera. So they were like, let's drink it. Who's going to pour it? It was me. They basically made me the waiter. They gave me the bottle, and I had to walk around and pour everyone's drink. And they had the drink, and they toasted and talked about wonderful chemistry things. Here's Martin getting smashed. No, it's not. Here's Martin having one sip and then saying, well, it's not for me. But he did have a sip of it. But then at the end, I had this historic bottle that was empty. No one said anything. No one seemed to want it. So I kept it. So now it's mine. And I want this to sink in for a moment because it seems like funny or flippant, but I went to Moscow and I stole something from Russian nuclear scientists. I want that to sink in. I want that to sink in. With Martin, it sounds like a movie, like we were spies or something, doesn't it? I think it would make a great movie. I think I can see it. I can see it happening. A bottle from Russia with love. Look at us there with our whiskey and stealing the stuff. And I can imagine people coming up to Martin and I saying, I loved your movie. I've got the poster. Would you sign it for me? And that's where we're going to come unstuck. That's where we're going to come unstuck. Because we haven't got the cool spy autographs. But anyway, never mind. Oh, I do have the Rubik's Cube here, by the way, too. So that will be in the glass case for you to have a look at. Can we go back to the Royal Society? Please, says Keith. Let's have a look at some medals. First, I want to show you this. It's quite small. We have the Copley medal here. Keith will pick it up for us. Again, you can look at all these up close shortly. This is the oldest medal in science. It's the most prestigious medal that's awarded by the Royal Society. Anyone who's anyone has won this over hundreds of years. It's a really big deal for sustained outstanding achievements in any field of science. This particular one is very old. It was awarded to Joseph Priestley in 1772. Priestley did all sorts of amazing things. Probably the most famous was he did a lot of studying of air and gas, and he is kind of a discoverer of oxygen. There's a few discoverers of oxygen, but Priestley's one of them. I just noticed today, and I told the library guys, that I think Priestley's name is spelled incorrectly on the medal. And they were like, it is not, show me that. And they had a look. And we've decided we think maybe it is, although they were a bit loose with spelling back in the olden days. Let's double check. There he is, Joseph Priestley. He uses an L-E-Y there. So it's not the spelling he used when he signed the charter book. That is a great signature. 9 out of 10. Definitely a 9 out of 10. We also have here, to show you, Joseph Priestley's spectacles, his glasses. They're there in the case. You can have a closer look at them. Very special, very amazing thing. Now, I wanted to show you all a painting or a photo of Joseph Priestley in his glasses. I couldn't find one. The best I could do was Jason Priestley. I thought I was the only person that would appreciate that joke. There's obviously a few people here my age, but anyway. But I did use ChatGPT, I'm ashamed to say. And I showed it a portrait of Priestley and the glasses and said, what can you do? they're a bit different shade. It doesn't really work. And also, I did want that kind of portrait look, but he looked a bit glum, so I said, come on, we can do better. I like that better. That's got a bit more zing to it. And then I was thinking about how cool his signature was as well, and I got carried away and said, let's do more. And we did that. And then I was like, I wonder what it looked like when he signed the charter book. Show me that too. And that's where things went weird. Pete, your job is safe. Look at that. What is that? Upside down, spread over, hovering above 2 pages. I said, you got to have another try at that. And it's still upside down. It's a little bit better, but I said, come on, don't do it upside down. Can you turn it around? And then it just went weird. Like it went, I don't even recognize it anymore. And there are 4 fellows instead of 3. I don't know how this happens, but this is what happens. It did get me thinking, though. I wonder if Priestley was right-handed. I don't know. So I went looking for pictures, and I came across this one on the internet. And then I looked a bit more closely into it, and it turns out that's the Royal Society has the picture. So this is it. I'd never seen this before. I didn't know Keith had it. He'd never told me. So there you go, right-handed. But turns out this was acquired by the Royal Society in the 20th century, and it's a forgery. It's not actually a contemporary painting. They found it. I know. I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but it was based on an etching. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but it may be based on a picture of Priestley, right-handed. Again, have a look later on and see. I think forgeries are more glamorous than, legit paintings myself. It's got a bit of, spyness to it and stuff. I like my spy movies. Let's have a look at some medals. There are several Nobel Prize medals in the building. Here are just 2 of them. So you can have a look at a Nobel Prize medal up close. These 2 were won by Sir John Cornforth, chemistry, 1975, Australian, of course. And the other one was won by Sir John Vane, the Medicine Nobel Prize in 1982. Their names are engraved on them, as you can see. They both signed the charter book, of course, Nobel Prize winners. 6 and a 7. I was told 7 was harsh earlier, but you like that one, don't you, Louisiane? But I'm going to go with a 7. I'm sticking with my 7. I know what you're all thinking. These are cool. These medals are nice. I know what you want. You want a Fields Medal. You're a math crowd. And I hate to tell you this, and it hurts, Keith, for me to tell you this, but the Royal Society does not have a Fields Medal in its collection as yet. Maybe one day one will be bequeathed or bestowed or donated. It hasn't happened yet, I'm sorry to report. But I know a guy. This is James Maynard. He's been in several number file videos, and he won a Fields Medal in 2022 for contributions to analytic number theory, which have led to major advances in the understanding of the structure of prime numbers and in Diophantine approximation. Twin primes is also a thing he's very famous for. Twin primes are a really cool thing in mathematics, and he's a real leader in that field. So I contacted James, and I said, James, I haven't got a Fields Medal. Can you come along? And he did. He's sitting here. James, did you bring it? We have a Fields Medal. Thank you. For me? Am I being awarded the Fields Medal? Oh, why, thank you very much. James Maynard's Fields Medal will be locked in the glass case. I promise, James, it will be locked in the glass case. So this is your chance to see it. Oh, wow, I'm getting chills just holding it. This is your chance to. Here you go, Keith. Only for an hour. Only for an hour. Take great care of it. Everyone else, go and have a look at it. Can I tell you a Fields Medal story about James? This is my Fields Medal story. Here I am filming with James, and even for one of the world's best mathematicians, I think being filmed, it can be an intimidating experience. There's some guy, he's got a camera in your face, he's asking you questions, you don't know what question's coming next, he doesn't know anything about math, so he's asking silly questions. And while we were filming, James was writing some maths on the number file brown paper for me, and he made like a mistake, a really simple mistake. There were 2, I think they may have been single-digit numbers that he was adding together, and I was behind the camera, and I just said to him, hey, James, I think those 2 numbers add up to something different. And he went and had a look, and he was like, oh yeah, of course, like lecturers do and teachers do. This happens all the time. And he crossed it out and just got on with what he was doing. Cracked on. But I stopped him, and this was before he'd won the Fields Medal, but there were lots of rumours that he might get one because he was doing some good stuff. And I said to him, James, if you ever win the Fields Medal, I'm going to have this piece of video of me correcting your mathematics. And I am going to show this to the world. Then he did win the Fields Medal. And I've been looking for that footage through all my hard drives and everything for months and months and months, and I cannot find it. I cannot find it. I haven't got the proof. So he's off the hook for now until I find it. But I want you to imagine what it was like in the room in a sort of a Royal Society kind of way. So I asked ChatGPT. This is what it felt like to me. That's a pretty good James Maynard. Got the white shirt, like your signature look, and left-handed. I don't know how it knew you were left-handed, but there you go, a left-handed James Maynard. Me, not particularly flattering. Accurate, but not particularly flattering. So I said, look, I want Brady to be more handsome and muscular. And now James is right-handed, so I don't know what's going on, but anyway, I'm sticking with the right-handed James in exchange for that picture. So, of course, how could a Fields Medalist not be elected a Fellow of the Royal Society, sign the Charter Book, high pressure, left-handed? Wow, that makes it harder. Here we go. The person who signed before James was called Simon Lewis, I believe. And I don't know if you two had a chat beforehand and said, look, I reckon we should both go single letter, dot, straight line surname, hard to read. Because that's what they both did. And I was going to give you a 5. And then I thought, well, you did give us your Fields Medal. So I upgraded you to a 7. And that is a twin prime Easter egg for all you nerds. 5 and a 7. Put a lot of thought into that. That's as good as it gets. That's as good as it gets. I'm sorry. So quickly some paintings. Michael Atiyah, a very famous, great mathematician. This is his portrait. It is in this room. It is hanging in the back right corner, so we don't have to get it down and show it to you. You can see it on the wall. Another Fields Medalist, 1966. A president of the Royal Society. That's his presidential portrait. Presidential portraits, I think, mathematicians and scientists like to make a bit of a statement about who they are. And if they're a president of the Royal Society, they really like to basically say, I'm doing the job Isaac Newton used to do. So very often there are Isaac Newtons hidden in their portraits, and you can see a bust of Isaac Newton in the background there behind his chair. Michael Atiyah, signed the Charter Book, 7 out of 10. But the one I want to show you, here's another presidential portrait, and we're talking about hidden stuff. This is Robert May, Lord May. It's in the room here with us. Theoretical ecology, quite a mathy person. This was done by artist Tom Phillips. And I want to show you something. Well, the first thing that's pretty obvious is the border. Why am I pointing to that when the real thing's there? The border and the tie, it's got all this kind of jumble craziness, which is kind of chaotic and mathy, which kind of fits in with, it's a reflection of his research and the work he did. But the thing I really want to show you is while Tom Phillips and Robert May were creating this portrait, May was obviously sitting for it. They would have breaks, as you do when you're sitting for a portrait. And when they had their breaks, they would play table tennis. That was something they both enjoyed. And it became a bit of a bonding experience between them. So when Phillips finished the painting, he wanted to have a little nod to that. And I don't know how well you can see it in this light, but just up here, there's a little round bit that's slightly discoloured. I'll show you on a slide as well. You can see it a little bit more easily, perhaps. That is a table tennis bat hidden in the painting, and it's a little nod to what they were doing while they were making the painting. And I love these little nuggets and secret facts that are hidden around the Royal Society and that Keith has told me that I then palm off as my own facts and information. So thanks for that one, Keith. There we go, Charter Book, 7 out of 10. One final object I want to show you, which is relevant to this evening. And it relates to Sir Christopher Zeeman, which is the reason I'm getting to stand here. Now, of course, Sir Christopher Zeeman, great mathematician and great math communicator. Of course, he was a Fellow of the Royal Society. Here's his signature in the Charter Book. He was elected a Fellow in 1975. Great signature. We've got the little E on the front there because his first name was actually Eric, so he's done that there. Got a nice Christopher. I love the little line in the Z, the little swoosh underneath. This is like absolute prime signature. And I'm not just saying that because I've got the Zeeman Medal. That's got to be a 9 out of 10. But what I want to talk to you about is how you become a Fellow of the Royal Society. It's a very conclave-like process in some ways. It's a bit secretive. And you are nominated and seconded, and people will vouch for you. And there are other steps to the process that will then go to a vote. And what is issued is an election certificate. But that's a secret document, and people aren't allowed to see that. Who knows what secrets are in there? There could be scandals, controversy. People might not want to know who signed on for who, and you're not allowed to see them for 50 years. They're kept confidential for 50 years, and then they're released, and you can see them. March 1975. This was not planned. We just realised this recently. 50 years has elapsed. So you're going to see something that no one has seen before, and that is Christopher Zeeman's election certificate. Spoiler, there's no controversy or dirt to be dished, but it's still a really interesting thing to see that no one has seen before. Here's the certificate. You see there, elected, March 1975. There's biographical information. Born in Yokohama, Japan. I didn't know that. That wasn't in your biography. That's a good one, isn't it? These are the proposer and the seconder. The proposer, we see, Michael Atiyah, who we spoke about a moment ago, Fields medalist, later to become a president of the Royal Society, was the first person who said Christopher Zeeman should be a fellow of the Royal Society. Other people signed up, went to a vote. He was in the club. So you can have a look at that certificate as well and see something that no one has seen before. After 50 years hidden away, we get to see it. All of the objects you have seen tonight will be available to have a look at. Most of them are in a glass case there. We may leave the charter book here. No drinks or food in here. Do whatever you're told by the archivist. take good care of them. These things here, I'm not saying. They'll be somewhere. You can have a look at them. Unfortunately, the only thing you won't be able to see is my signature. That's currently on loan to the Smithsonian. So I'm sorry we're not going to get to see that. But no. Keith throws nothing away, I see. Keith signed that as well. So this is actually, ignore my signature if you can, but this is actually a piece of vellum this has got such an interesting story, this piece of vellum, because not only did I sign it, and not only did a whole bunch of fellows sign it when they were practicing, but I found out today that while the archive team were doing a bit of training, they wet it on purpose to try to do some recovery work on it, to test a few techniques if something really important ever gets damaged. So, yeah.
We stuck Brady's signature in a bucket of water.
Yes, they did, you did, and it survived. This is the end bit. I want to say, if you want to see videos about almost all these objects, you can go onto YouTube Objectivity, or more importantly, go to royalsociety.org/collections to see all sorts of stuff from the library, the archive, loads of stuff's digitised. It's amazing. You can also visit the library here anytime and see Keith and the team. They're very accommodating. Can I say thank you to Keith Moore, Louisiane Ferlier, who's outside, and Rupert Baker, who is also outside, your fellow archivists. I'm sorry they're not in here at the moment, but do give them a pat on the back. Rupert's an Arsenal fan, and he's missing a Champions League game tonight. Are they returning? There we go. There's Louisiane, and there's Rupert. And Keith. These such great people. We've had so much fun over so long making all these videos. So knowledgeable, intimidatingly knowledgeable people, and so accommodating to me over such a long time, and very accommodating to me today and tonight to make this possible. What an easy job I've had tonight. Look at this cool thing. Look at this cool thing. Look at this cool thing. Thank you guys for making this possible. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you again for my medal, which I'm really excited about, and I'm happy to take any questions, and I hope I get to talk to some of you outside afterwards as well. Thank you very much.